Hello everybody, and welcome back to Steven's Fight Show. It's a sad day. It's a sad day to be an Izzy fan. So just in case anybody is living under a rock, UFC 281 happened about a week ago, and in the main event, Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira pulls off the stunning upset to become the new UFC middleweight champion. And since then, things have popped off. I mean, especially on Twitter. Man, I was so devastated for Izzy, bro. Legit, Twitter has just been so annoying. Everybody's just making bare memes and tweets about the entire fight. Some of them are actually funny, I'm not gonna lie. But bro, I literally saved so many tweets of people saying Alex Pereira was going to win. And I was gonna bring them up if Izzy was going to get the W. But nope, instead history repeats itself. And I know I have a lot to say in this video, so I'm just going to get straight into it. Okay, so last Saturday, Izzy defended his middleweight title against Alex Pereira, and unfortunately he came up short towards the end of the fight. And before addressing the performances between both fighters, I just want to say that this fight was insanely competitive and entertaining. Both guys were amazing strikers, two of the best strikers we have in the UFC, and they displayed elite level striking. On the feet, it looked tight and competitive, but from an MMA perspective, there are a lot of questions for both guys after this fight, and we'll get into those questions towards the end of the video. But the hype for this fight was massive for a reason, and at the end of the day, both guys were able to meet again for their first meeting in the octagon, and they both put on a great show for the fans. Although this was a great fight as a whole, the ending was absolutely devastating for one man, and it's the last style bender. During the build up to this fight, Izzy had told everybody that he was going to be the one that outclasses and inflict damage to Alex Pereira. And for the most part, he was doing exactly that. He was landing precise strikes on the feet, he was able to hurt Pereira towards the end of the first round, he utilized his striking, and he was able to secure good control from the top while landing good ground and pound strikes. Essentially, Izzy was using MMA instead of purely kickboxing. And Izzy, he showed the differences in the levels between kickboxing and MMA. However, a few mistakes from Izzy in this fight eventually pushed Izzy down the path where the fight slipped away from him in a matter of seconds. There were also a few things that I did not take into consideration from Pereira that I did not factor into this fight, and I'll speak more about it later on in the video. But let's get straight into the fight. So round 1 starts and both guys immediately meet in the center of the octagon. Both guys are exchanging good leg kicks, and this is something that I noticed in the kickboxing fights. Leg kicks were a big weapon for both guys in both of their kickboxing fights, and it certainly did play a factor into this fight. Izzy was switching between orthodox and southpaw to give Pereira different looks, and it opened up different attacks for him. Both guys had a lot of success with leg strikes and body strikes, but the difference for Izzy was the defense, the boxing, and the damage. Even though the leg kick battle was close, Pereira was slightly leading, and Izzy's adjustment to the leg kicks were either pulling back his leg or timing the right hand. And as soon as he timed the right hand down the middle, that's when Izzy started throwing feints to draw out reactions from Pereira. Izzy was also doing a great job of sliding his head out of range when Pereira would get too eager to land the left hook. This is something that Izzy does very efficiently. And he also hurt Pereira with a right hand that lands just above the ear, which speaks volumes about Izzy's precision, and the left hook wobbles him. And the thing is, if there had been about 10 more seconds in that round, Alex Pereira would have been in deep trouble, or there was a chance that the fight could have been stopped. And in round 2, once again, it's a competitive round on the feet. And early on, Izzy had a lot of success with the same things, the jab, the 1-2, and Izzy was continuing to land kicks to the head, body, and legs. However, Alex Pereira started to have a lot of success with his own jab in the middle of this round, which helped him close the range down against Izzy. He stopped reacting to Izzy's feints and started to land the jab, not only to the head but also to the chest as well. That was something that he was doing very well, was changing the level of his jab. So this forces Izzy to move around the cage and stay on the back foot, and the damage inside the clinch for Pereira was evident as he landed good body shots and good knees. Izzy then reverses the clinch and drops down for a shot, which was shocking, but he wasn't able to get it. Pereira continues to press the action and pressure Izzy. Izzy tries to go for a trip, but also doesn't get it, and Pereira lands a grazing left high kick, which was fortunate for Izzy, because if that kick would have landed flush, the fight probably would have ended quicker for Izzy. But towards the end of the round, Pereira shoots for a takedown, which was also shocking. A good action-packed round, and the fight was close on the feet, but the takedown secured the round for Pereira in my opinion. And heading into round 3, this was all Izzy's round. He starts working his jab again and he lands a flushing right hand off of the 1-2, which is the same combination that's having the most success for him. And if you notice the way he throws his 1-2, when he throws his jab, he'll stick his lead hand there to frame, and then he'll shoot the right hand. This allows Izzy to measure range to shoot the right hand. And after Izzy lands the right hand, Pereira starts to pressure Izzy immediately, and it backfires on him because when he clinched against Izzy, he stepped across the wrong side of Izzy's body to try to get a takedown, and instead it led to him getting taken down. And this is where the holes in the weaknesses start to reveal itself for Pereira, because we saw countless mistakes from Pereira in the grappling department. As soon as Izzy was on top, Pereira was so eager to get up that he gave up his back, and he didn't care to fight the hand. He tried to chase a heel hook, and he was gasping for air in a matter of 2 minutes of grappling. Essentially, he showed a very average level of grappling. So this gives Izzy enough opportunities to control the back and land good ground and pound strikes. So the third round is easily Izzy's round. In round 4, Izzy was outstriking Pereira from the jump, and since Alex Pereira was so exhausted from the previous round, he needed to take a round off to recover. Izzy was landing the same strikes he's been having success with the entire fight, and the setups were starting to fall into place. Izzy was also using body locks to continue to drain the gas tank of Pereira, and since Pereira was inactive, this was the only moment in the fight where Izzy managed to push Pereira back. Pereira was the only one the entire fight taking center of the octagon, and this was the only part during the fight where the roles were reversed. However, even with all of this success that Izzy has, it still wasn't enough to put Pereira away, and there was a sequence towards the end of this round that was a trailer to what was going to happen in the next round. So now heading into the 5th round, this is where Izzy's own game plan and his mistakes really backfire on him. The round starts and Pereira is right back on the pressure again, and Izzy clinched to break Pereira's rhythm. This is where things start to go left for Izzy, because Izzy throws a leg kick, but it gets checked by Pereira. Izzy then falls to his back, and people were saying that this check is what caused Izzy to fall. The check definitely hurt Izzy's leg for sure, but it's not what caused Izzy to fall. He did admit in the post-fight press conference that his leg was hurt bad, but if you watched it back, you can clearly see that Izzy tripped on his own foot. I believe the check affected the follow-through of the kick, which caused him to not retract his leg properly. Izzy does a good job of rolling back to his feet, and this is where the damage begins. This puts Izzy right back up against the fence, and Pereira is ripping shots to the body. Then suddenly, Pereira lands a right hand that stuns Izzy. He then follows up with an uppercut, and then lunges in with a left hook that really wobbled Izzy. Pereira then jumps on Izzy and starts teeing off on him, and that was all she wrote. Absolutely insane. In the last round, where he's losing the fight, he's exhausted, and he still has the courage and the toughness to walk forward and put Izzy away. All it took was one good clean shot by Pereira, and the fight's over. Overall, it was an incredible performance by Pereira. Like, if you watch the finish back again, you can see how Pereira unlocks the finish. After he lands the right hand, he switches to an uppercut, and then he switches to a left hook, and then he goes to the body, and then he throws a hook again. I mean, it was just beautiful. And people were saying that the stoppage was early, including Izzy, but I don't agree. Mark Goddard is a great referee, and he gave Izzy a lot of time to fight and recover. I thought it was the right stoppage. Izzy took a lot of unanswered punches, and he was evidently hurt after the first exchange from Pereira. Like, my mans was stumbling trying to get away from him. And when Izzy had his head down, that's not completely abnormal because he always does that. If you watch Izzy's previous fights, he usually moves his head with his head down, and that's definitely ill-advised, but Izzy has mentioned that when he has his head down, he has his eyes up so he can see everything. But at the same time, when you are not defending yourself properly, and you're strictly rolling shots, and you're having bad body language, the ref has to step in and save you. He can't think about your limits in the Gaslam fight and take that into consideration for this fight. That's not his job. His job is to save you if you are in danger. And ultimately, that's not even the biggest issue. Izzy made quite a few mistakes in this fight that led to the fight slipping away from him. And one of those mistakes was him being too comfortable with being up against the fence. I believe Izzy's game plan was to try and pick Pereira apart from distance by throwing leg kicks, body kicks, and straight punches. And when he tries to close down the range, that's when Izzy tries to bait him into making mistakes so he can counter. Hence, that's why I believe Izzy was okay with giving up so much ground against Pereira. And it's not entirely a bad game plan by Izzy because it's what he likes to do. He's a fighter that is very defensively responsible, and in the process, he likes to find openings, and that's when he shoots his shot. And also at the same time, you don't really want to stand and trade with Pereira knowing the kind of power that he possesses. However, Izzy being up against the fence prevents him from being able to move in and out. If you notice, in the center of the octagon, Izzy didn't look bothered by anything that Pereira was throwing, which was already a mistake by itself. He was calmly just slipping and moving his head. But when you're up against the cage, you cannot use in and out movement. You can only use lateral movement. and Izzy wasn't able to use it for reasons that I'll explain in a minute. Izzy has great head movement and footwork, but against a dangerous opponent like Pereira, it's a requirement for you to be more disciplined than that. And it would have been nice to see Izzy raise the guard or just throw a shot to get Pereira off of him. When you're backed up into the corner like how Izzy was, if your main objective is to counter, then you're just constantly anticipating rather than reacting, which gives Pereira enough time to set up his offense. If Izzy is up against the fence and he's making Pereira miss, if he doesn't shoot his shot, then the longer he stays there, the worse it is for him. And even though Izzy made a lot of mistakes in this fight, there were many things that Pereira did very well that ultimately kept him in the fight until the finish. One of those things is his ability to check kicks. Pereira's leg kick defense was able to neutralize one of Izzy's biggest weapons, which was his leg kicks. And if you look at both fighters and the way they stand, Pereira has a stance that can effectively check kicks better than Izzy. Pereira is usually upright, he stands tall, and his weight is usually in the middle, whereas Izzy, he can shift from the back leg to the front leg, and this gives Pereira opportunities to check kicks and land kicks of his own. Another thing Pereira did well was the damage inside the clinch. Izzy is not bad in the clinch, but he ate a lot of body shots from Pereira when he would secure body locks, and I believe that took a toll on Izzy. People want to mention Pereira being tired, but I'd argue that Izzy was also tired going into that 5th round as well. I think that played a factor into Izzy not being able to move accordingly on his feet, along with the leg kick damage. His ability to cut off the cage and use his jab, along with his patience, was absolutely excellent. And if you include his durability with that, and his toughness and his ability to take shots, you can slowly understand why Izzy was never really able to pull away in this fight despite leading throughout the entire fight. And going back to what I said in the beginning of this video, I said that there were going to be questions for both guys after this fight. And for Izzy, how will this affect him mentally? To lose against your arch nemesis again in your own sport where you've been champion for years, that's gonna sting. And I praise Izzy for being one of the most confident people in this industry, and this loss could change Izzy. However, we have to remember that he got knocked out cold against the same guy in kickboxing, and look what he's able to do after that fight. So I wouldn't completely count Izzy out. And for Pereira, how will he address the weaknesses in the grappling and the cardio issues? I don't think it takes a genius to know that Pereira is a big guy for this weight class. He walks around 220 on the day of the fight. Like, bro should honestly be a light heavyweight, and he's cutting insane weight for this weight class. And because of his performance, I'm not fully convinced that Pereira is a 5-round fighter. He doesn't have much experience in fighting 5-round fights, and the issues that he showed in the fight against Izzy could be a little concerning, because if he doesn't address these problems in a rematch against Izzy, or even any top middleweight in the world, I can guarantee that he will not be champion for longer than like 8 months. And that's not me hating, that's me being for real. There's so many people with different styles that can take full advantage of the weaknesses from Pereira, and that guy can be a certain bald dude with a beard who comes from Sweden who mauls people. I wonder who that is. But anyways guys, thank you so much for listening to what I have to say, and let me know, did you guys think the stoppage for this fight was early or not? How long do you think Pereira can stay as a champion? Drop a comment and let me know in the comment section down below. Now if you guys enjoy content that is related to combat sports, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel down below. That would be greatly appreciated. And other than that, it's been Steven signing out. Peace.